the American arsenal entered World War II defined by a single revolutionary piece of engineering, the M1 Garand rifle. This semi-automatic powerhouse was lauded by General George S. Patton as the greatest battle implement ever devised, and its capacity for rapid, sustained fire gave U.S. infantrymen a massive advantage over their bolt-action-equipped enemies. The success of the M1 led High Command to embrace a rigid policy of the doctrine, one rifle for all. The philosophy was simple. Driven by the colossal logistical demands of a global war, maximum standardization. Every soldier, every Marine, across every theater of operations, was to be trained on, equipped with, and supplied for the M1 Garand. This streamlining ensured that training was universal and the supply chain was simple, relying on a single caliber and one type of clip. This doctrine extended even to the most specialized roles, including the snipers. Despite the long, proven history of precision bolt-action rifles, High Command pressured marksmen to transition to the semi-automatic M1 Garand rifle, viewing the older, slower-firing bolt-action rifles as obsolete relics that complicated logistics and reduced overall battlefield rate of fire. The assumption was that the rapid second-shot capability of the M1 outweighed the marginal gains in accuracy provided by the old M1903 Springfield. This bureaucratic rigidity and unwavering faith in the semi-automatic platform created an immediate and dangerous conflict for the men whose entire purpose was to achieve a single, perfect shot from extreme distance. They were being handed a weapon designed for infantry engagement, not surgical precision, setting the stage for the coming rebellion against mandatory standardization and the secretive search for an unauthorized solution that would allow them to perform their mission effectively. While the M1 Garand excelled at delivering rapid, suppressive fire in a general infantry engagement, the weapon suffered from several critical, technical flaws that made it fundamentally unreliable for the precision work required of a Marine sniper. This was the sniper's problem with the M1. The most immediate and dangerous issue was the rifle's semi-automatic gas system. Every time a round was fired, the gas port near the muzzle redirected propellant gases to cycle the action, resulting in a visible puff of smoke and a distinctive mechanical clang of the action that, in the silent, static environment of a sniper position, instantly betrayed the shooter's location to any nearby enemy counter-snipers or machine gunners. This noise and signature meant the sniper had to immediately relocate after every single shot, sacrificing crucial time and potentially losing sight of follow-up targets. Secondly, mounting a precision scope on the M1 was a nightmare. Because the weapon ejected its empty clip vertically from the top, the scope could not be mounted centrally. Instead, it had to be offset to the side, necessitating complex mounting brackets that were inherently prone to shifting under battlefield stress. This lateral scope mount meant the rifle's zero, the perfect point of aim, was constantly in danger of being subtly thrown off, making the reliable 600-yard shot a coin flip. Finally, the very nature of the rapid-fire gas system introduced vibration and inconsistent mechanical forces into the barrel after each shot, compromising the harmonic consistency necessary for world-class precision. The snipers realized that a fraction of a degree of wobble or a minor shift in the scope mount meant the difference between a clean kill and a missed shot that alerted the entire enemy command structure. The magnificent infantry rifle was proving to be a dangerous, unreliable liability when judged by the unforgiving standard of precision shooting. Faced with the life-or-death unreliability of the standard-issue semi-automatic rifle, Marine snipers looked backward, bypassing the modern arsenals to find the banned solution in the venerable M1903 Springfield bolt-action rifle. This rifle, the staple of the American infantrymen in World War I, was technically obsolete, a logistical non-starter, and was being actively phased out by High Command, making it the very definition of banned gear for frontline combat use. Yet, for the precision shooter, the M1903 possessed inherent, undeniable technical superiority that the semi-automatic M1 Garand could never match. The key lay in its simplicity and stability. The M1903's manual bolt action meant that after firing, the mechanism remained completely inert. There was no gas port blast, no cycling rod noise, and crucially, the barrel was completely untouched by the complex, violent mechanics of the gas system. This ensured that the harmonic consistency of the barrel, the minute vibrations that determine bullet flight, remained optimal, guaranteeing predictable and repeatable results with every shot. Furthermore, the M1903's solid receiver allowed scopes to be mounted directly atop the bore, unlike the offset side mounts required by the M1. A centrally mounted scope held at 0, the sight's perfect alignment, with absolute fidelity, a non-negotiable requirement for the 600 to 800 yard shots demanded of snipers in the Pacific. The controlled cycling of the bolt also ensured more consistent chamber pressure and muzzle velocity, minor variations that, at long range, translated into major vertical shifts in bullet impact. The snipers understood that the slight delay required to manually cycle the bolt was a small price to pay for the mathematical certainty of knowing exactly where their round would impact. For them, the old, obsolete M1903 was not a step backward, but a necessary, technologically superior tool that provided the essential certainty required to achieve a clean kill on a fleeting target and, more importantly, survive the inevitable enemy counterfire. The realization that the M1903 was the only viable option necessitated a silent, extensive, and highly disciplined smuggling operation executed by Marine snipers and their armorers. Because official supply channels were forbidden from issuing the bolt-action rifle for frontline deployment, the snipers had to become resourceful, bureaucratic rebels. They began scavenging for the old rifles in the deepest recesses of rear echelon armories, collecting M1903s that had been relegated to training duty or were slated for decommissioning. Often, they relied on informal networks, trading valuable gear or favors to convince sympathetic quartermasters to lose the rifles on the supply manifest. Once secured, the rifles required meticulous work, often performed in secret by skilled, dedicated armorers. This involved custom bedding the action into the stock, a process of molding the metal and wood together to eliminate minute play, and carefully tuning the barrel and trigger mechanisms to achieve match-grade accuracy. The danger of this operation was immense. Carrying an unauthorized rifle was grounds for severe disciplinary action, potentially leading to a courts-martial, or, at the very least, being permanently stripped of their coveted sniper role. When it came time for deployment, the snipers had to be masters of deception, often concealing the telltale bolt-action rifle beneath their standard-issue packs, wrapped in blankets, or hidden inside cases labeled with non-specific inventory numbers, relying entirely on the trust and silence of their immediate unit commanders who understood the existential necessity of the mission. The sheer effort and personal risk involved in obtaining and perfecting these banned rifles underscored the snipers' deep conviction. They knew that if they went into combat relying solely on the inadequate M1 Garand for long-range precision, they would be sending themselves to an early grave, and the battlefield results would prove their rebellious actions tragically justified. The fundamental superiority of the banned M1903 Springfield over the standard M1 Garand for sniping boiled down to a single critical factor: the difference in precision. This wasn't a matter of opinion or preference. It was a cold, hard, scientific reality, rooted in the mechanics of each weapon. The M1 Garand, with its semi-automatic gas-operated system, introduced inherent variables that were anathema to absolute accuracy. Each shot involved a complex sequence, the firing pin striking the primer, the bullet traveling down the barrel, and then, crucially, a portion of the propellant gas being tapped off near the muzzle to unlock and cycle the bolt. This gas diversion created a subtle but measurable disruption in barrel harmonics, the minute, consistent vibrations of the barrel that ensure the bullet exits at the exact same point and angle every single time. This inconsistency led to a minute wandering zero, meaning that even a perfectly aimed shot might impact slightly differently due to the previous shot's mechanical influence. Furthermore, the M1's offset scope mounts, necessitated by its top-ejecting end-block clip, were prone to subtle shifts under the brutal conditions of combat, introducing another layer of potential error that, at 600 to 800 yards, translated into inches of deviation, the difference between a kill and a miss. The M1903, in stark contrast, offered a beautiful, brutal simplicity. Its bolt-action mechanism meant the barrel remained utterly static during the shot, completely unaffected by any gas system. This allowed for perfect, consistent barrel harmonics. The centralized, solid scope mounts on the M1903's receiver held their zero with unwavering reliability, providing the sniper with absolute confidence that if his crosshairs were on target, the bullet would follow. This fundamental consistency meant that once an M1903 sniper understood his rifle's ballistics, he could predict the exact point of impact with near mathematical certainty, making the critical headshots or chest shots on distant, fleeting targets a repeatable reality rather than a hope. This was the silent, deadly advantage that justified the immense personal risk involved in carrying a forbidden weapon into battle. It was the difference between life and death for the target. And the empirical evidence directly validating the sniper's rebellious choice was overwhelming and brutal. The M1903 Springfield, the so-called band rifle, led directly to the doubled kill count for U.S. Marine snipers operating in the Pacific. While official reports were often obscured or generalized to maintain the fiction of M1 Garand universality, anecdotal evidence, after-action reports, and the grim reality of the battlefield confirmed that snipers armed with the older bolt-action rifles achieved a kill-to-hit ratio that was, in many cases, twice as effective as their counterparts forced to use the semi-automatic M1. This wasn't merely about hitting a target. It was about achieving precision kills, eliminating enemy officers, machine gunners, and forward observers with devastating efficiency, often with a single, perfectly placed shot from ranges exceeding 700 yards. The M1903's consistent accuracy meant fewer missed shots, which translated into less exposure for the sniper, and, more importantly, a higher rate of mission success. A sniper with an M1 Garand might take 5 or 6 shots to hit a distant, partially obscured target, each shot betraying his position and risking counterfire. An M1903 sniper could often achieve the same kill in 1 or 2 shots, remaining undetected. This dramatically enhanced lethality had a profound impact on the Japanese. High-value targets were being eliminated with terrifying regularity, disrupting command and control, silencing vital machine gun nests, and forcing the enemy to dedicate significant resources to futile counter-sniping efforts. The M1903, a weapon officially deemed obsolete, was proving itself to be the ultimate force multiplier in the hands of a skilled marksman, allowing a single sniper to inflict the tactical damage equivalent to a small infantry squad, thereby not just doubling individual kill counts, but critically impacting the overall success of Marine advances across the unforgiving Pacific theater. Ultimately, for the sniper himself, The devastating surgical accuracy delivered by the banned M1903 Springfield rifles quickly escalated the lethality of the Pacific battlefield, forcing the Japanese command to adapt rapidly to the hidden enemy, Japanese counter-snipers. The Japanese doctrine heavily emphasized patient, concealed marksmanship, often utilizing the accurate, if technically simpler, Arisaka bolt-action rifles, and their highly trained snipers became an immediate, terrifying threat to the advancing Marines. However, the Japanese were quickly confounded by the sheer efficiency of the American snipers. Targets were being eliminated from ranges exceeding their own capabilities, and crucially, without the telltale smoke or mechanical noise associated with the American standard issue M1 Garand. This silent, long-range execution signaled to the Japanese that they were facing an unprecedented level of marksmanship and technological consistency. The resulting sniper versus counter-sniper duels became a constant, nerve-wracking reality of the Pacific campaigns, a high-stakes game of concealment and precision fought entirely at the extreme edge of rifle range. For the Marine sniper, the M1903's inherent lack of gas system noise was the ultimate defensive asset, allowing him to fire the critical first shot and immediately cycle the bolt without betraying his exact position, an impossibility for any Marine forced to use the semi-automatic M1. Surviving the counter-sniper threat was paramount, as Japanese counter-snipers were masters of concealment and patience, often remaining hidden for days, waiting for the slightest movement or sound. The M1903 did not just enable the Marine to achieve the kill. It provided the vital technological silence necessary for the sniper to escape the duel, ensuring that the doubled kill count did not come at the cost of immediate death, thus preserving the most valuable asset, the highly trained Marine marksman himself. This silent, lethal warfare between the opposing snipers underscored the life-or-death necessity of the M1903's bolt-action consistency. Despite the overwhelming, irrefutable evidence visible in the after-action reports, the doubled kill count, and the clear tactical advantage the use of the M1903 Springfield created a persistent, internal struggle known as the command conflict throughout the Marine Corps. This was a direct bureaucratic clash between the rigid, necessary demands of wartime logistics and the immediate, bloody realities reported by the men on the front lines. Senior officers, particularly those focused on supply chain efficiency and standardization, viewed the bolt-action rifle as an obsolete anachronism that complicated the flow of parts and training, arguing strenuously that the entire Corps must transition to the M1 Garand to maintain maximum output. The idea that an older, slower rifle was superior to the modern, semi-automatic infantry weapon challenged their core doctrine and technological belief system, leading to stern warnings and disciplinary actions against units caught with the banned rifles. Yet, the ground-level commanders, the captains and majors who witnessed the surgical effectiveness firsthand and whose successful advances were directly attributable to the sniper's precision, consistently defended their men. These junior officers actively shielded their snipers, creatively misreporting equipment inventories and turning a blind eye during inspections, becoming necessary accomplices in the smuggling operation. The conflict was finally resolved not by a change of heart, but by the undeniable evidence filtering up to the highest operational levels. The overwhelming success rate and the surgical elimination of high-value targets provided a measurable, decisive tactical advantage that no amount of standardization could ignore. The results proved that the snipers, in their rebellious act, had been right all along, forcing a slow, reluctant acknowledgement that specialist roles sometimes require specialist, non-standard gear, even if the preferred gear is old, heavy, and technically banned by the doctrine of the day. The story of the Marine snipers, who defied command to smuggle the banned M1903 Springfield bolt-action rifle into combat, serves as the ultimate, enduring military case study proving that necessity dictates gear, a fundamental truth, one not in a boardroom, but in the bloody anonymity of the Pacific Islands. The simple, stable mechanics of the M1903 expose the Achilles heel of the iconic M1 Garand for precision work, showing that the semi-automatic's noise, scope instability, and barrel harmonics were an existential liability that no amount of standardization could excuse. By risking disciplinary action to obtain, customize, and conceal the older rifle, these snipers achieved a doubled kill count, a statistic that ultimately spoke louder than any general's order, silencing the bureaucratic resistance that sought to brand the M1903 as an obsolete relic. Their rebellion was not born of defiance, but of professional necessity. They understood that their lives and the success of the Marine advance depended on the absolute, unwavering reliability of their precision tools, a confidence the M1 could not provide beyond 500 yards. The profound impact of their success forced the Pentagon to finally accept the truth that specialist roles require specialized gear, ultimately leading to the official development and adoption of purpose-built sniper platforms, first with the semi-automatic M1C and later with the bolt-action M40, a direct descendant of the principles proved by the M1903. The legacy of these snipers is not just one of battlefield heroism, but one of technological revolution, proving that the expertise and survival of the man on the ground must always supersede the neat, convenient packaging of military logistics, establishing a principle that continues to guide the equipment of elite forces to this very day.